Hello everyone, and welcome to some advanced Google techniques. This video will focus on using Google Calendar for your own professional use and for use with your students. Okay, so here I am in Google Calendar. Okay, now I guess I should have started perhaps a little bit back earlier. Let me just open up a new tab here. And how do you get to Google Calendar? Well, when you're in your main Google page, always the waffle icon is the place to go. And you can click Calendar. Okay, so that's how you get to Google Calendar. And here I'm in a calendar that I use with my students for all the lesson tracking. And I know for some of you are going to say, well, why aren't you using a different calendar like Schoology, or just use the Google Classroom calendar? And I'll get to that in a moment. Okay, so I've created this calendar right from my own drive and from my own calendar space. Here you go, click Create. I can quickly add a new item, or I can create a certain event and things of that nature. So the create button is always kind of like our place to go. All right, but let me just explain what I'm doing here. So here I have some long-term lessons that students are working on for the week. These are some like they watch some crash course videos and they can kind of like see that certainly, and they got some projects coming up, and it's a nice easy place for me to kind of keep everything organized. Now, what I love about Google Calendar is that when we have to change a date of something, it's so easy to shift a date of something. I can just go in here and I can shift this event to any place on the calendar just by moving it. Okay. Again, if I wanted to create an event, there's so many nice options here. I could just click on a date and I can create an event. And I'm going to probably freak anybody out if they see this. I'll click test, but also we'll edit the event. Okay. Now, I might want it to be an all-day event. For my students, like using all-day events, right? That shows it as a whole day. I'm not going to break it down by class period, anything like that. Okay. Now, I have a lot of different calendars here, but you could pick which calendar you want to actually post this assignment to. All right, which is really kind of nice. For your own personal, use, you can add a description here, maybe a website. You can add an attachment, and you can certainly change the colors. And you can add notifications for your own personal devices. So it's kind of a nice place to kind of add some events and some aspects. Okay. Now, let me just kind of discard that. Okay. Now, how do you actually go in and create a new calendar? Okay. So I'm going to go in this settings button, the settings cog. Okay. And I'm going to go to settings. And here has all my general settings for my calendars. Which you can kind of play around with, when you want things to start, and some of this you really don't need if you're using it for school use, right? I'm going to go into calendars, okay, here, all right, and it shows all the different calendars that I have. I actually have my personal calendar here. I've been going back a few years for all my different classes. I actually put a Planbook up here, which I'll show you in a moment. Even my wife and I share calendars, so we know what's going on for appointments for ourselves and my daughter and everything else. So you create new calendar. Okay, I'm just going to call it a test calendar. Okay, you can give it a description, location if you really want to, time zones, all that good stuff. Make this calendar public. Now I did this, okay, because I want students to be able to access this calendar and find it and add it to their devices. Okay, now. Also, I entered, if I was working with another teacher, I could enter their email address right in here. I don't know if you can all see that. I could enter their email address right in here, and now I could actually, share it with another colleague. Now, I've done this before. If I co-taught a class, or not really co-taught a class, but teach a similar prep with someone else, and we like sharing aspects, I've given that person, I can just type in their email address, and I've given that person, full make changes and managing, so then they can manage it and change it as well. Okay, so that's what you really do, and then when you're done, you create your calendar. Super easy. Okay, so we'll get back to that. Okay, so let me kind of get out of here and go back to my calendar. Okay, we'll go back again, and I'll go back again. All right, now, so easy to create events. Okay, now I also create a Planbook calendar. Now right here, I'm just going to click on Planbook. And here you'll see kind of like my Planbook overlaid over my assignments. This is for the same class. Okay. Now I could turn off the class assignments right here so that I only see the Planbook, which is really super convenient. Okay. So right now we're in the middle of a debate, and I gotta get some planning done for end of this week and early next week before we leave for our break. But we kind of had all these different things there for our planning. I can then put the assignments back over it, or I could take off the calendar. Now what I really like about this is the ability to go back. Now what I'm going to show you now is another calendar, and this is from last December. And so now I can kind of see what I did last December, what time I did it, okay? And if I really, and then I can also look at my plan book from last December. I have them all color-coded, so I know which ones I'm using here, okay? That brings up the plan book. And we can click this off. And now I say, okay, you know what? That was a good lesson. Mexican-American War Tour Builder. I can edit it. Sometimes I put links in here to documents or places that I want to go visit during that lesson. Okay, but I think I might do that next week. Okay, so I'm gonna click on this. I'm gonna go copy to my calendar. Okay, so I'm gonna change the date of this to actually I'm gonna probably do this next week Tuesday. Okay, on the 20th. And I select which calendar I want to go to. I'm going to put it to my plan book for my one course this year. And I press save. Okay. Now if I go back to my plan book for this calendar, there it is. Okay. And I could always move it around if I really wanted to, but there I have what's on next for next week, just from last year's calendar. Okay. So kind of an interesting way to use a plan book, a simple plan book, just of what's going on, what's happening. Sometimes I take notes in those, extra sections, and I put links in there, some feedback, so you can really kind of develop it as you like. But it's a really nice way of building either a calendar for yourself and for your students. Now to quickly change colors, all you do is click on the little arrows here. You can change the color of a calendar. You can view some of the sharing settings, or you can kind of do a nice little thing here, share the calendar, calendar settings, all that kind of stuff. So it's a nice way to quickly edit your calendar right there. Okay, now what happens if you're using Schoology? Now here I am in the main page of Schoology, and again, since I create assignments in Schoology, it already creates items here, and it creates an automatic calendar in Schoology, which is certainly fine. But if I go down here, I go to course calendar, I made a page on my Schoology as a course calendar. There is my Google Calendar embedded right on Schoology. And when students are on this, they can just click Add Calendar. They can add it to their own Google accounts, which means it's on their phone. It's easy to access. I just like this calendar better than the Schoology calendar. Well, how did I do that? Okay, I'll show you. So I'll go into a calendar. Let me get out of these plan books. Let me go back into this calendar, and I'm going to go to share this calendar. Okay. Now I can go to Calendar Details back here. And in Calendar Details, and there's a thing called Embed This Calendar. You can customize the size and the color and other options. And all I do is copy this embed code. And I went into Schoology. Now I can show you really quickly how I did this. Is that I'm in a Schoology. Alright, I go Add Materials. I go Add a Page to Schoology. I'm just going to call it Test Page. I'm going to click this little dot here, so switch to HTML. Now this is like an actual HTML web editor. I'm just going to paste that code right in there. I'm going to go to Create. I'm going to go to the bottom of the page, or I go to Test Page, because I want to delete it, because I'm going to make them all confused. I go to Test Page, and there's that embedded calendar again. Alright, so isn't that nice and easy? So easy way to kind of add your calendar to Schoology if you are a Schoology user, but a really nice way to kind of add it all set and done. Now real quick, if I go back to Clarence Schools, if you're using Google Classroom, it will create Google Classrooms for you automatically, calendars. So you can use a Google Classroom calendar and just add events to it. If you are using Google Classroom, it creates it automatically. Alright, but I just kind of like using my own personal one, easier, and there's actually better options of sharing it than the school calendar version. Okay, so there you go. So I hope this was helpful, and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.